Urbana Champaign. So he and I will do this session, this and the next one. Our focus is on networking. We'll talk more about it and what it is and what it is not. So we'll talk about networking, and that's the theme for this and the next session. So here's the agenda today. You want to know what is networking? We all have some idea what it is, but I want to just kind of zero in on what we think it is. And why do you want, and now using the verb form, why do you want to network and why do you have to do it now? You're already very busy, your classes, you have research and so on. Why do you do it now? We'll talk about that. And Dr. Vogiatsis will talk to you about networking in particular for a researcher. Researchers are quite special people, and we think it's important for them to network, and we'll talk about that. And especially to a student researcher. And last, I think we want to leave you in your mind a clear idea of why you want to be involved in networking. I think this is very important. I've also been to a lot of workshops and sessions, heard people talk about advice, and so on. Everything just flies by a year, right? After a while, unless you anchor it in some way. I think it's really important when you take on something that's important to anchor it in your mind as to why is it important to you. Someone else may come and tell you something is important, but you don't have to take their word for it, right? So I would like you to take some time to anchor this idea in your mind as to why, when you're so busy, why should you do one more thing? I'm going to try to present some motivation for that, but I want you to leave with at least an attempt to anchor this in your mind. So a little bit about me. I have a PhD in industrial engineering from SUNY Buffalo up north, and I have an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering and master's in industrial engineering from IIT Madras in India. I worked for 2 years in consulting, and I worked for a radiator company, and then came to education. I'm a professor in industrial systems engineering and also the associate dean by Cambridge Press. This, as you probably know by now, is a NSF-sponsored project. As background, I come from a small town in South India. It's a temple town, much like southern US. Temples. That's where I'm from. And let me, Chris, introduce himself.
Yeah, of course. So a little bit about me. I know that you cannot see me. Actually, I can turn on the camera if you can see me, but I mean, we can do that later. So my name is Christafis Vogiatsis. People have gotten away with calling me Chris because it's a little easier. I have a PhD in Industrial and Systems Engineering from the University of Florida, which is all the way down to the southeast. I then work at North Carolina State University, which is all the way in the far north. I was at North Carolina A&T. Unfortunately, I had to leave this past summer, so I'm now at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. My main interests are with networks. So today I'm going to try to basically touch upon that as well, because networking as an activity is based on the generation of networks and how we use them. And one of the classes that I teach is also in analysis of network data. So I'll basically be spending some time with you. I just wanted to make something really clear. If you have a question either about something I said or you didn't hear me well, just feel free to make this interactive. Feel free to interrupt me and ask me to repeat something, okay?
Thanks, Chris. So you didn't tell them where you're from.
Yes, a small tidbit about myself, right? That apart from all these diverse places that I've been to in the United States, I also come from a small island in Greece.
Thank you. Okay, so here's a little graphic on in Harvard Business Review on networking. So we had one person who really clearly doesn't like networking at all, right? But I don't think we want to be that person. We encourage you to not be that person, rather than be in that group in the right. What is networking? From the dictionary, right? There's a verb form and a noun form. And in verb form, I have here saying the action or process of making use of a network of people for exchange of information, etc. Right? Professional and other advantage. It sounds kind of mean, but so I take this dictionary meaning with a grain of salt. It's good. It says yes, making use of, but I don't think it's just making use of. You have to build it before you can make use of the network. Otherwise, the usefulness to you for the network will be very short-lived. Right? You have to participate. And so networking is the verb form, and then the noun form is basically an integrated, interconnected group of people. Would be called a network, or more, if you ask the electrical engineer, they may say something like devices that are put together, etc. There are three stages in networking, and I think all three are important. The verb form kind of emphasizes the second stage, use. But you can't use a network, unlike calling on Verizon or something, it's already there. This network is not there, built for you. You have to build painstaking process. You have to build it, use it, and maintain it. Otherwise, it just disappears. I mean, you may have had students, if you're as old as me, you're probably your students from high school or college will be long, several decades are pretty young. They probably, if you don't maintain it, you probably lost contact. Right? So you want to build these networks for the long haul, but it requires a lot of work, and I think that's what we want to talk to you about. So let me give you some examples. Interact with your extended family at the annual reunion. I don't know, when I was growing up, there was no reunion like here, but my father was one of 10, my mother was one of 10, so we had obviously a lot of people, right? And we got together somewhere and we could interact. But when you interact, you get to know a lot of people that you may not see very frequently. So that would be an example of networking, right? And there the goals are very modest. You just want to get to know somebody, you don't have some fun, etc. Right? Interacting with your hairdresser in a hair salon, right? A barber shop, it's a great interaction. You get to know a lot of the grapevine. You know what they think about the politics of today, etc. Right? So that's another form of interaction. Interact with a farmer in a local farmer's market. I've done this in my area here, and there was a farmer who used to grow Asian vegetables. I'd have a conversation with him. I'll get to know the inside story. What am I going to get next season? He's planted some, vegetables I like. Maybe they'll be out. If I didn't interact with them, I'm not going to know that at all. It's kind of an insider information. Interact with people in your neighborhood. Whenever you move into a neighborhood, you want to know your people. Right? So what I want you to take this idea of networking, a visual, if you want to keep in your mind, is to interact with people in your neighborhood. Except your neighborhood has no change. Your neighborhood is what? It will be your research community, etc. Let me ask a question. How many of you know, let me ask it differently. Can you count how many people you know in this room? We're all one network here, right? In one form, you're at a research network here. How many people do you know in this room? One or how many? Anyone who said to think 5 or more? You know 5? Even about 10 or more? Okay, so I'm just saying, so you grow your network. So maybe here's a place to start, right? That's your neighborhood. And maybe your neighborhood in your own, niche research area may be different, but however, you want to practice growing your networking skills. So here's a task that Chris and I put together. So take 5 minutes to list what networking means to you. There's 5 top phrases that come to mind. Share with your class. So what I want to do is you have like sticky notes on your desk. May I please ask that either individually or collectively write on them? I'll take them. I like the ideas. I like to get ideas from our group. So please take a few minutes to write them, right? And maybe you can call upon people to share. We have time constraints. I want to stick to the 5-minute limit. So be on task. So see what you can do in 5 minutes. Again, what you're trying to understand is write a phrase, right? A phrase that is networking to you. It could be like having a party is networking. Okay? But whatever it means to you. And once you're done writing, I would like you to leave the stickies on your desk in one organized way. I'll collect them at the end, but I will call upon your people to share your answers. This is an opportunity to know the people at your table. Two minutes. All of you have this activity sheet. It's a two-sided paper. One minute. Okay, it's time to share. Two things I want you to do. Please take your sticky and put it at the one. And there's someone from the back there. Anyone wants to share my talk? The phrase? You guys in the back there. Anyone? Yeah.
So we just
Speak up because everybody can hear that.
okay, so we were just talking about professional bonding purposes to reach out to people that relates to like research or related, creating friendships and also sharing ideas and sharing resources.
Great. Yeah. Good. Someone in the middle here. Anyone? Yes.
For the phrase, for one of the things I wrote was, it's not always what you know.
It's not what you know, but it's who you know. True. That, yeah. Good. You want to hear it?
Okay, so I'm Sherry, Justice, and Hannah.
Yeah.
And even though three of us have like different areas of study, I'm bioengineering, he's computational science, and she's computer science.
Yeah.
We're all kind of here collaborating, trying to get like the same thing. So we're like-minded people trying to, reach like the same type of goal, sharing our ideas. And whether it's via us or Hannah brought up a good idea, like we can even collaborate via social media. Like I've gotten like a lot of work done from people via social media that have helped me out.
The most really fruitful collaborations could be with somebody across the globe. So can you kindly write whatever you wrote, the gently written, can you leave it on your desk so I can take it from you? So please. So I just want to give my thought on, based on what what I think it is. Not simply an information exchange. I don't think you want to take that limited view. It's more than that. Just like a family, you have a family. It's not just like you have food together and that's it, right? There's more to it than that. It involves establishing relationship, and it can help you all through your career. So it's important that you pay attention to it. Maybe able to help you advance in your career, and maybe help others to advance in their career. That's both. With that, I'm going to so we have get to Chris. So what are some motivations for networking? One is a lot of times you get inside information. A lot of times in research, you may not hear anything outside. You get a lot informally from people, and inside information is the reason why you need network. Address technical challenges. You're not the only one researching in that area. That's very rare. And other people working on the problem that you are working on. And nice thing about research community is that a lot of them are willing to share. They have a very different, researchers have a very different outlook. They want to solve a problem. They don't mind sharing. So generally speaking, I don't say everybody's like that. It's common that they will share these gems of ideas they have. Career-related advice, and you can also help others. I keep saying help others because that's part of the building. It's not a one-way street. Okay. Chris.
Sure, I'm here. Okay, so first of all, let me begin with one thing. A lot of the things that you mentioned in the activity earlier have actually made my life a little easier, because some of the values we'll be talking about, you essentially did my job for me, right? So some of the values that we're going to talk about are the values that you've also identified. But before we get there, let's define networking in research by the opposite. Let's define what it's not. So first of all, it is not unnecessary or secondary. Like some people might try to convince you that investing time in networking is time that you should be investing in your research. No one is saying that your research and your academic achievements are not important. They are probably the most important thing that you are doing when you are pursuing graduate education. That said, though, networking is definitely necessary. It is not only for the business world. Again, a lot of books claim that you need to do networking if you are interested in, working as a consultant or going into the business. But reality is that we live in a world in academia where you actually need to network. Along with those things, let me also say that it is not easy. It's a second full-time job. Networking doesn't end at 5 p.m., right? Networking will go on, and you basically need to do that in order to advertise your achievements and in order to get some of the values that we're going to talk about in a bit. One more thing, it is not natural, meaning that as you grow older, as you become more well-known, as you start, let's say, publishing more or talking in more seminars and giving more invited talks, you will not necessarily also network better. You could be really famous, but not investing time in your networking doesn't really help you improve your network. Finally, some of you said something interesting, how you were in different areas, but that said, you recognize that you should work together. You are here for the same goal. You are absolutely right. Networking in research is not limited to your area of research. You don't want to over-specialize and only have people that are in your area be your advocates and be your network. You want to also extend. How that depends on the type of research that you're interested in doing. So depending on how far-reaching the research activities that you perform, that more far-reaching your network should also be. Bala, can we go to the next slide? So networking in research is basically figuring out, first of all, who the important people are in your area, also cultivating relationships with them. And as Bala said earlier, it's not only building and using, it's also maintaining. You maintain and improve them before you need them. The key word here is before. If you start making connections after you need to use them for something, you don't yet have the street cred, right? So before you want to talk to someone about an opportunity, before you want to apply for a position, before you want to talk at a specific conference, you need to make sure that you have networked with the people that are important in those areas.
So I just want to share an idea gem with you. That's an idea from a person who's involved in networking a lot, business person. Everyone goes to a networking event, right? A lot of people go to networking events. It's a great thing. You can get away from work, etc., right? But the point is that they go to better themselves, but make sure you're prepared to make someone else better. I think the point is that you want to make yourself, your presence felt when you go there, and that's not by just soaking in what's there, but it's also by sharing. And even maybe you're going to your first conference presentation, you're making a presentation. You should have something in there that people can appreciate it, remember you. And moving forward, maybe 2 years down, decades down, you may be able to help other people also as you make impactful presentation. Okay, we have another task here. I asked that we do the same thing. We use the stickies. Let's use a different color so I don't confuse the two together. And the point is that we talked about what is networking. Now I want you to write down your motivation. Why do you think you should network? And why now? Why? You already have too many things to do. Why do you do it now? So please. Discuss at your table. Let's do the 3 and 2 minutes together so that you have a total of 5 minutes. Okay, we're trying to talk about 2 things here. Let's take 1 more minute. Okay, it's time to share your ideas here. Let's see. Even from you share? Yes, I'm very able to hear.
So we were thinking more why you should network.
Speak up slowly.
So we were thinking more in terms of why you should network while you're a student. The first thing is like you don't start your career yet. So it would be a great boost to jumpstart your career. And the other reason is like it can be informative so that you know what exactly is going outside in the field, and it also helps you to know if that is your interest or not, or what exactly is your interest.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the biggest amount of research you're going to do, really concentrated at any time in your career. It's quite a seminal research, right? So it's quite important. Okay, anyone from either of us in the middle? Yeah. Go ahead.
So networking actually helps me diverse people. So we can attend a lot of conferences, meetings, which helps us grow our confidence. And as a student, it is very important to gain exposure
Yes.
from the outside world.
Yes.
So that's why networking is very important for students.
Can I get one more?
You get inside and you can be professional or just whether or not you know.
things that you do. I mean, I know that a lot of times we leave in a lab, doing research, and then find that either what you're doing is extremely significant, or what you're doing is not significant. Right? So if you go there, you put up your abstract, you want to present the content. Before that, you get cold feet. Hey, you're doing all this in a secret place there. Now I'm open. To come and do this in the effect of it. Okay, so can I get those speeches up front? I'll come collect them while we move on. Chris, were you going to address this one?
No, I think that's you, right?
Okay, cool. Okay, so we talked about why networking in your view, but I have a few bullet points from what I have read in the literature and my own experience. It opens up, the door for many more opportunities. Things that you never knew. It could happen. I remember years ago when I was a professor, I didn't know network. I said, okay, let me go and do some really industrial project here in IBM. At that time, they were just beginning to mass produce desktop computers. The production line was interesting thing to study. So networks is what I got that opportunity. I just didn't prospect, didn't go and look. I wanted to have that. And deeper and broader knowledge. So just don't be stuck in what you're doing. You need to know what others do. That's the broader part, deeper in the sense that in your own area, maybe there are people who are doing significant work. I'm not saying more significant, I'm not making a comparison, but maybe they're doing some areas that may be deeper in what they're addressing. And status and authority, go to a conference and you'll see who the big guys are, right? You'll see them, their stature will be obvious when you go to one of the sessions. So it does help with if you recognize, you become you get on the editorial board for a journal, etc. Right? And improves your own quality of work. A lot of times, quality of work depends on your competition, right? That's why you have people that work alongside people who are good and tend to do better work. And the last one I cannot impress enough. It does increase job satisfaction. I've gone to conferences, when you go there, and the people who, if you have a conference for 3 days or something, you have about 5 or 6 meals together in groups, right? And people will have their dates fixed already. They have their network, they go together and talk about other things that they like to talk about. And so every year you're looking forward to the conference or conferences. And then not only that, you want to go and make an impression in your group. So you're going to spend the rest of the year really doing quality work, right? So it does tremendously improve your job satisfaction, I consider.
Okay, so let me really quickly go back to networking as a researcher. So earlier we said that networking is a second full-time job. And it isn't easy and it isn't natural, meaning it won't happen just because you become better and better. So let's start with some things that are incorrect notions that people hold for networking. Some people believe that a PhD is enough to verify you as an expert. And in reality, the research that you've done definitely classifies you as knowing what you're talking about. But this alone isn't enough to verify your status as a top researcher. You need to have other people vouch for that as well. So the reason also when we are publishing papers, we don't just say we're an expert. Instead, we invite other people to verify and vouch for the work that we've done. Very clear. Secondly, one more notion that is propagated for networking. Bala, can you go to the next transition? So another thing that is people say is that the better your research becomes, the better quality your research gets, the more well-known you will become naturally. Again, this is not 100% correct. It helps, right? The quality of your research is definitely important, but it is not enough. Okay, all righty. So let's go to the next slide now. So opportunities are not just your qualifications. Somebody said earlier, right? What did you say? Somebody earlier said something about in the terms of it's not what you know, it's who you know. I want to add to that. I want to say it's not what you know alone. It is what you know, but it is also who you know. So networking happens within 3 subfields. It happens with top names in your area of interest. This is specific to what research you do. And it happens with the extended academic family. Bala earlier talked about the extended family that we all have. So the extended academic family of your advisors. And last, your peers, classmates, the people around you, other students that are maybe graduating with you, people that you meet in a colloquium or people that you meet in a conference, among others. These people, all of these 3 people are going to be vouching for you throughout your careers. And of course, some are easier to connect with than others, right? It's easier to connect with a peer than it is to connect with the top expert in your line of research. Okay, so why network as a researcher? First of all, the people you see around you now, the people you see around you in a panel, the people that you see around you in a conference will be future colleagues, will be supervisors. Bala, can we go to the next slide? Yep.
Yes.
Will be editors, will be collaborators, will be reviewers. These will be all the people that will judge your work, that will make sure that you get the visibility and the attention that your research definitely deserves. So essentially, that's the reason why we want a network. We want a network because we do some amazing stuff, we do some amazing work, and we want the world to know. And in order for the world to know, we need to make sure that we are in good terms. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Right. So basically, these people, the people that you see around you, will evaluate you, will recognize you, will recommend you, will give you funding. So that's why what we're doing. It is imperative that people know who you specifically are. Okay. Do we have any questions so far?
Questions? Just because he's far away, you don't have to be shy about asking questions.
Oh, yeah. Please don't. That said, we are going to get into a very interesting part. So now we're going to talk about the values. But before we get started with the values, I have one quick note for you. What you know is what gets you in the room. What you know is what gets you in consideration. What you know is the reason why you're here. But who you know is what's going to get you a seat at the table, right? A lot of people out there are knowing the things that you know and are experts in the area you're experts with. But who you know gets you a chance to speak up, gets you a chance to promote what you're doing. Okay, let's move to the next slide, but Bala, don't do the transitions just yet. So let's just leave it with the title because I want to have them go with an activity. Perfect. So let's get here. Value number 1. Everybody of you has written something like that in the first 2 activities that you have done. Bala has mentioned that networking is important for your career. I have said that it is imperative that for your career advancement, people know who you are. But before we move on, before we go into the value, I want to go to activity 3. Can we turn all to activity 3?
So they have it with them, yes.
Perfect. So activity 3.
So do you have your sheets, the single sheet? So it does list all the activities. It's actually in the back page.
I apologize. Let's skip activity 3. Let's actually go to activity 4. Let's go to the activity that is titled Value 1 Career Opportunities. So what does this activity say? The activity says, I want you to recount, you can talk to people next to you also. I want you to recount a case from your professional lives where you made an important decision. For example, that decision could be to decide to pursue a PhD or a master's, to decide to change advisors, to decide to move to a new city or a new university, or even to just get a position. I want you to go back to that period in your lives and find out who were these people. Who were the people that let you know of that opportunity? Who were the people that helped you make that opportunity? Write your name, write their names actually. You don't have to reveal them to me if you don't want to, but write their names and more importantly, write their relations, your relationship to them. I'll give you, let's say 3-4 minutes and then we will resume, right? So we want to talk about value 1, career opportunities. So let's focus on that activity for 3-4 minutes and feel free to share with the person next to you. Feel free to kind of, talk about this among you.
So we are now using the yellow stickies, please. So keep them separate.
Let's take 1 more minute and then we can, get back together.
We're using the yellow stickies now, okay? If you're wondering what I'm going to do with that, what you've written, we'll summarize it for you.
Okay, let's get back together. So does anybody want to share? Is anyone who is interested in sharing their story? A big decision you had to make in your professional lives, and who was the person that helped you the most to do it?
Who wants to share? Anyone, guys?
If not, I'll share. I'm more than happy to tell that story.
Not going to get one example? One. Yeah, sure.
So initially I came for my master's here to pursue my master's in ISC, but I didn't have an intention to go for my PhD at all. I was thinking of looking for a job after the master's, but Dr. Smith Jackson, she was a department chair and also my advisor then, but now she's currently in academic, like she's a senior vice provost to better each others. So she kind of encouraged me to pursue the PhD degree. So that kind of changed my decision and changed my direction towards the career. So
that's a good story. It also speaks volumes that that person was your advisor, right? So they already were aware of the quality of work that you were producing. So they also had a personal investment in making sure that you are as successful as it gets. Yeah, that's a very good story. Is there anybody else who wants to share?
Any more? Okay, we have one, yes.
Some of my cohorts encouraged me to change. Well, they agreed with me to change advisors. I went more with someone who's closer to what I was wanting to study, and I mean, it was a big change, and but it was the best change.
Okay, I'm sure that wasn't easy, right? That was a very difficult choice. I'm glad to hear that it was like, the best choice, using your words. Can I ask you a follow-up question about those cohorts? Would you classify them as close friends, or would you classify them as people who are just, were aware of who you are? Like basically, would you classify them as close as family, or would you classify them as people that you had to network with?
At the time, there were people I had networked with, but now, since we all work in the same lab, we're now all close friends.
Excellent. And my last follow-up question, that lab that you are in now, I'm taking from the way that you are describing this, it is tangentially related to what you were doing before, right? So it isn't exactly in the same line of research.
It's the same,
okay,
but it's better in that we all collaborate together in this lab. As before, it was just me.
Excellent. Perfect. You're making my case much easier. Let me really quickly, though, advertise myself as well. So when I was doing my master's, my bachelor's and master's in Greece, it was in electrical and computer engineering, and it was in computer science. And I gave a talk for the research that I was doing in computer science. And a person that I had never met before came up to me and said, what you're doing is industrial and systems engineering. So you should think about pursuing a degree in industrial and systems engineering. And that person literally changed my life, as now I am a professor of industrial and systems engineering. Okay, let me tell you really quickly about why we did that activity. So in the 60s, Dr. Granovetter, he's a world-renowned sociologist now, had an idea. And that research idea was, can we investigate how people find out about new career opportunities? So naturally, he went out and he started interviewing people who had just recently changed jobs and asked them in a survey about how they learned about those new jobs, and they had found out about their network. Is anything surprising so far? No, right? Like pretty much everything is kind of cookie cutter. Okay, so let's go to the big reveal. The big reveal. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Let's change the slide. So the big reveal here is that these job opportunities were not advertised by the closest friends and family. Those jobs were advertised by acquaintances, by people that were tangentially related to what it is that they were doing. So my question to you is, why aren't your closest friends the ones with the biggest motivation to help you get a job? Why is it that more distant acquaintances are usually the most important ones in identifying these types of career opportunities? And I'm going to answer that with a figure. So the next slide contains a figure. There we go. So in this figure over here, we have a very, very naive way of looking at a social network. You have people, let's call those cliques, social cliques, where everybody knows one another. These are your friends. And then every once in a while, you meet people like the person in the middle, the reddish node over there, that connect you to totally distant cliques. The people that you are aware of, the people that you are familiar with, and the people that you hang out a lot and you exchange a lot of ideas every day are also the people who are familiar with the same career opportunities as you. So they cannot really offer you that much new advice. A person like the one can serve as a bridge to connect you to totally different types of opportunities that you wouldn't really have thought. This, while counterintuitive at first, actually makes all the networking opportunities, it makes them all worth it. That's the reason why we network, so that we can increase the number of bridges. All right, let's go to the next slide. So the types, this is what networking does. We want to increase this number of bridges. And the number of bridges, the higher it goes up, the more we can have help with securing a first entry position, right? Getting a first position right out of college. Finding out about new positions or opportunities that we would have never heard of. Finally, it is important that you get your name in consideration in diverse areas. Don't just narrowly focus on the one thing that you are an expert in. It is important that you get your name in consideration in other areas, right? We're talking about a totally interdisciplinary world out there. So it is important that we have that. Now, finally, one last tidbit. When applying for a researcher position, when applying for an academic position, when applying in a company for a research position, the people that you consider your closest friends, the people that actually are working with you, that your collaborators, they sometimes are viewed as biased, right? They have a vested interest in helping you get that position. If I am working at a university and I'm collaborating with you, then the closer you get to me, the better, right? So if I can bring you in my department, even better. So sometimes these opinions are not valued as much. That said, if you have a well-maintained network, you're also going to have these bridges, these diverse people that suddenly connect you to the people that make decisions. Are we all clear with that? I think this is an excellent sociological experiment, actually, because in the end of the day, it kind of proves something that we've always known. We have always learned to be kind, polite, and helpful to everyone, right? We are not only kind, polite, and helpful to the people that make the decisions. We want to make sure that we are kind, polite, helpful. Essentially, we want to network with people, no matter what their positions are, because they open up diverse arrays of opportunities for us. Okay, let's move on into the second value now. The second value, right, because of the previous structure, like because of the previous network, the more bridges you have, the more irrelevant people look at your research. And I use irrelevant very, very loosely here, right? So I'm not talking about people that are in totally different areas, but I'm talking about people who are in tangentially related areas that might have not have heard of your work. Now they know of your work. I'll give you an example, right? So in many areas of computational sciences, for example, you hear terms like predictive analytics, you hear terms like mathematical modeling, you hear terms like data science. Those are not terms that are unique to computational sciences, right? Those are terms that appear in electrical and computer engineering. Those are terms that appear in mathematics. Those are terms that appear in computer science. So the more diverse your network is, the more people in those areas are going to hear about your research as well. Continuing on that, right? Continuing on that, you're going to have diversity of the people who actually listen to and read about your paper and use your paper. You're going to have basically people that are now familiar with the work that you're doing. Many researchers out there are going to try to convince you that the quality, the number of people that read your papers is just a function of the quality alone. So the better your work, the more people are going to find out about it. What are you talking about? If I publish in Nature, everybody's going to read my paper. This is not, unfortunately, true. We live in a world where there is more good research than any time in history. In 2012, there was a number of papers that was in the order of almost 2 million per year. Just imagine that, 2 million. Even if we take out, let's say, a 50% or a 60%, let's consider predatory journals or, like lower ranked journals, that still leaves close to 1 million papers that are worth reading. Like, contemplate that number. Quality alone will not make a dent. Quality, along with people advocating for your work, will actually make that dent. Okay? Value 3, collaborations. So basically, earlier we had one of the students say about the difficult choice of changing advisors, changing labs, and now they are in a collaborative lab, right? In the same area of research, but with a collaborative lab. That can make all the difference in the world. Today's research is interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary. The walls of disciplines are narrow, are slowly falling down, right? So if our network can help us by recommending us to other diverse areas, then we can find out about areas that could benefit from our skills. Again, I'm gonna basically shamelessly advertise my work, but some of my work is with biology, and I have absolutely no background in biology. I just happened to make a friend when I was at another university who was an agricultural biologist, a geneticist, and I found out that what they were talking about was part of my research. I would have never found out about this if it weren't for me extending my network through that. And then Dr. Ram said earlier about the fact how in academia people are more open, people are willing to share and help. And this is particularly true with more senior collaborators, right? They have experience, they have expertise, they have run into problems that we haven't. So the senior collaborators can help us learn from their mistakes. Junior collaborators can help us with the diversity of their thoughts, right? They're bringing in new blood, they're bringing in new thoughts. Okay. Value 4. Okay, so how many of you feel lost at your research? How many of you are like, I am not sure what I'm going is gonna work? I don't see many hands, but I will suppose that everybody is slowly raising their hands, or at least in the back of their minds, they are thinking, is what I'm doing meaningful? Is what I'm doing going well? In research, this is a main difficulty, right? There is a quote that some people use that if we knew what we were doing, it wouldn't be research, right? Have you heard that quote before? Yeah. Perfect. So basically, our network can help us with that, right? Our network can help us by being mentors, by being advisors, and give us feedback. And they can also help us review our career path and choices. That's what happened to this other student that talked in the beginning, right? So the very first story was about an advisor who recommended that that student doesn't go out there in the industry, but instead pursues a PhD. This is exactly the type of mentoring and advising and career path reviewing that we are interested in. Personal board of trustees that can help you figure out new areas, that can help you figure out new corrective actions if something is not going as intended. Any questions? If not, Bala, let's go to the next slide.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to go into activity 5, right? So I want you to think of an activity that you do with other students, like an activity that you perform with people in your lab or with people in your class. And just basically just think about that. Let's take 3-4 minutes basically. Let's talk about activity 5, which is based on this value 5 over here. Okay? And we'll resume in a couple of minutes.
Activity 5 is on your sheet.
Yes. You take one more minute, and then after that we should basically, get back. Okay, are we ready to get back together? So, I need an idea. Activities that you do with your fellows.
Chris, can you hear me? Chris, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Hey, I'm sorry, we're kind of getting ready with the lunch here. So.
Got it, yeah. So basically, while we're having lunch or before you get started with lunch, give me some ideas. Tell me activities that you do with your classmates or other student collaborators.
I can't hear you very well. Can you guys quiet down today? Chris has something to say. Can you wait 1 second? Yes.
Sure. So basically, I'm just saying that I would like to hear from you now. I want to hear ideas about the types of activities that you do with classmates, with student collaborators, with your peers. So just tell me an idea. What is it that you do and how do you think it improves your career and your research? And then I'll share mine.
I think my group, we usually have meetings and then share the progress that we have so far on the project. And this kind of helps you see where you are and gives you a broader perspective. And sometimes they get to your work, they can read your paper and help you get the mistakes before you are able to turn it in, which is helpful. But sometimes it can be stressful too. Because if you have a deadline and you're using and you inform them and in a negative way, yeah, so that's what I have.
Oh, yeah, that's excellent, actually. So you touched upon two important things. So number one is feedback, right? These are people that are in the same career level as you. They can give you advice on the things that you are not, doing the way you're supposed to, or the things that you could be doing better. And the second thing that is very important is accountability, right? Getting these weekly meetings, everybody fits in. If one student always fits in and like the rest of the students really don't work with that, right? That makes everybody look bad. So that is kind of like an important aspect of networking. They keep you accountable. Anybody else that might have an activity, let's say, that takes place outside the university?
Past the lunchtime here.
Yeah, no, I understand. I totally understand.
Okay,
So
we brought your lunch. We're gonna just take a minute to get that started, right?
okay, and then we can continue with value 5, 6, and 7.
Right. So here's the arrangement for lunch. So Mary has arranged all this for you guys. It's a departure from the pizza.
Y'all say y'all go to pizza, right? Yeah. Okay.
So we have the vegetarian subs here on this table, and these are this one and that one are both cold cuts. So you can come and get it, and we'll get the water in a minute. I think we want to make use of the time, so please come here in orderly way. You can start wherever. What start that end? I think those guys missed lunch last time. So let's start at that end. Please come and get your sandwich and sit down, and then we'll continue on. I think a couple of minutes. There's water for you. So the vegetarians, please. Yeah. I would suggest the vegetarians, whoever vegetarian. That's vegetarian. The rest of cold cuts are those, this and the other. Vegetarians on this table here, please. I think you can come now. Whoever is vegetarian, please come and get your sandwich from here.
I'm not sure. Just vegetarian.
What do you have for lunch, Chris? Chris,
I'm here.
we are set.
Perfect.
You can continue.
Yeah, sure. So basically, I just want to talk about the last 3 values, and then after that, I'll let you with Bala to do like a small outro. So value 5, right? So research is hard. It takes a lot of time out of our day, and it is like, you know, it takes a toll on our mental state as well. It makes us anxious. It makes us stressed. But it's also fun, right? So that's the reason why we do that. So taking care of yourself is important, and your network can actually help with that. They can provide us with accountability. They can provide us with support. They can provide us with compassion, with feedback, with logic. In my case, what I do is I have 2 activities that I do every week with part of my network. One is I meet for an hour every week with a writing group, and we are totally in irrelevant areas. So it's me with in industrial and systems engineering, a sociologist, and a Spanish professor. So we meet every week for like exactly 1 hour. We open up Skype, we just say hi, and then we start writing. And it might sound like a stupid idea, but at the same time, it's what you said earlier. Having these weekly meetings kind of helps me be on track, right? Kind of helps me be accountable. If everybody else is writing paper after paper and I'm not even finishing like a couple of pages, then something is wrong with me. And at the same time, I have a group of other young faculty in engineering. We meet every Friday right after the week is over, and we kind of talk about the things that happened in the week. And we have this compassionate people listening to us and kind of advocating for what we should do and so on. Let me go into value 6. like what's the next value for networking. So value 6 is editorial service. We all enjoy publishing our work. After you've published your first paper, chances are you're going to be looking back at it again and again. It's like, you know, you are a proud creator, basically. You've created something out there that might affect people's lives. However, publishing is not the only aspect of editorial service. Instead, you also have reviewing. So basically, you also have people that want to be reviewing your work. Now, reviewing your work is particularly important for young faculty and young researchers. That said, though, these are very scarce opportunities. Then basically, to get a say, you need experience. And to get experience so that you can get a say, you need a say. This is a vicious cycle, right? How do we break it? We break it through networking. If you have a good enough network, they might recommend you to review papers, or they might recommend you to help and do editorial service, when instead it would be very, very difficult to get one. For example, when you're beginning your career, your advisor could be a good mentor that helps figure out which papers you should be reviewing. Okay? All righty, Bala, can we go to the next slide?
Okay, sorry.
So now we're going to go to the final value of the day. Through networking, you give back to your community. And this is part of what this NSF project is about. It isn't only your careers. It is also people who have the same dreams and aspirations, people who had the same background, people that are going to be looking up to you. So by forming a network, you showcase that what you can do, and you showcase that people that have similar backgrounds and similar experiences can also do that. Bala, can we move on? Perfect. We need, as researchers, we need a diversity of fields, we need a diversity of opinions, we need a diversity of experiences, especially in academia and in research areas. We cannot go about only hearing at the same opinions and the same experiences time and time again. It is well time that we hear from people who don't look like us, right? And that's the reason why we're doing this project. That's the reason why we're doing all these things about networking. You networking will establish networks for a lot more people from underrepresented groups. Okay? And that's essentially what our NSF project is about, right, Bala?
Yes. So let's take a minute to actually recap the 7 values. To me, you all have a hard copy of the slides. Can I ask each table, one table, to just say one value? Can you? So we kind of sticks in our mind. Value 1, anyone wants to go? What is value 1? Career opportunity. Okay. Value 2, anybody? Pardon me? Visibility of your research. And the point there was that it's almost like searching for something in the internet. Just as big, the whole, there's a lot of volume of research. If you want to stand out, then you have to do something special. Either something special or have someone promote you. Something like your SEO, right? Search engine optimization. You need to know someone who will promote you. And number 3, value 3, anybody? Collaboration. Yes. Nothing happens in isolation. If you look at all the RFPs, research proposals, request for proposals that comes from agencies with money attached to it, rarely they give money to a single person. It's all multidisciplinary. It's all etc. That was number. What was that? Number 3. Okay. Who's going to say? Tell me about number 4. 4.
Mentoring, advising, and reviewing.
Is that the caption? Yes. Mentoring. Advising and career opportunities. Okay. In this context, let me say this to you guys. Okay. we in this project would really believe in mentoring. I really think so. You don't have to do this alone. And what we have said, what we propose is, you have your advisor, right? Research advisor is your mentor. However, we want to layer on top of that another mentor, and we are open to finding you a mentor, but you have to let me know that you are interested in that. Please understand very clearly that we are not like research advisor. It's not that. I'll be very close to advisor that I'm not, his role. But it might be someone who takes a limited view of this project, and I think what's good for all of you is that we want to help you come up with this research identity, have a research identity. That helps you in lots of ways. So I would request you, I'll send out an email today on asking all of you if you'd like to get a mentor layered on top of the mentor that you already have. Because respond to me and I'll do the best we can. Okay? That's just an aside here from Chris's presentation. And what's number 5? Support groups and self-care. This is probably this is what would sustain your group. 6 was editorial service, and 7 was give back to community, not just editorial service with the other group. In that context, I'm going to ask. This year, I just want to make a pitch for a poster competition. We have a poster competition every year, Black Poster competition in April 17th. This year is one on Thursday, I think 16th or 17th, 16th probably. And basically, it's your first stage. They're trying to, easy and free. You can just give me an abstract and you can present. But I want to involve some of you who've been here for a while, who participated before, in running this poster competition. Every one day, in a way, simulating this, give back, right? So I'm going to look to some of you, and I will contact you. But value 7 was give back to the communities. And here's one. So we are all researchers, right? I want to go back to the theme here. We go to a lot of workshops, we listen to a lot of people, things after you leave the room, something leaves your mind, right? Something else occupies your mind. I want you to anchor this because this is important. I mean, all of us have different reasons for doing things, right? It may be, I may sell you the idea that networking is good, but you have to anchor it in your mind to sell it to yourself based on what it feels to you. And that's why I want you to read some research. Now, it's just not me. There's this paper, a book here by People Are the Name of the Game. This is a professor and a student out of Stanford. You can read this article in Kindle. It just costs a few cents to buy, and you can read it. It's a short 30, 40 pages. I've read it. And this is slightly different from engineering or scientific research. But this person, I think, Pfeffer is the professor, Ross is the student. And you'll see how he, right from the time he started his business program, he started networking, they were, right? And in a few years, he not only had a big business, he was also on the Stanford Board of Trustees. The Stanford Board of Trustees, only gray-haired people, old people get to be on the board. This guy is a young guy who walked his way through that, all through networking. So read that, it will tell you the importance of networking. And then there's an article in Harvard Business Review about 5 misconceptions about networking. Networking somehow by scientists and engineers thinks that it's a dirty word, right? Why should I network? I'm in my lab, I'm doing my work, why should I network, right? That's a concept that a lot of people have, and that's the purpose of the session here. Please read it about this, people who know, it's in HBR 2016. And then the last one is, sound very boring and seem like another chore. I hope you start loving networking, enjoy networking. So it will grow for you. And then here's the graphic for that. Learn from networking. Chris, is there anything else you want to add to this? Chris?
I do not know. Sorry, I was mute. Yeah, I'm.
So maybe what I can say is that in your sheet here, right, the activity sheet, this activity number 3.
We skipped activity number 3. Yes, I thought that 4 and 5 would be a little more interesting for the values.
So I'm not saying we should take your time now, but if you can kindly look at it, maybe it has some meaning for you to do it. So I would encourage you to look at that activity 3 on your own and see what you can, get to that activity. Just look for that. And all I have to say here is that you want to make sure that you can think for your own self to understand how the value of networking is. Next session, we'll talk more about how we build a network. Okay? And I want you to actually do the survey. Your desk. There's some sheets of paper. Kindly finish the paper. Give that to me before you leave. It's very valuable to me. So please take a few minutes to complete that. One other thing, any trash you have, I request that you go to the trash can. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was gonna take it upstairs. Yeah, I'll get some help. Then as soon as I get back to my office. Yes, I saw. Can you do me a favor? Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you please bring this to me if
Yes.
I handle really carry the other stuff.
So which one? You want to print?
Yeah, please.
Someone will come over and is it will be someone come over and carry it for you? You carry off then?
If somebody is here, I'll bring them, but I don't know, I don't see them. We'll talk, we'll look for.
Where do you want to take it from?
They're upstairs, but let me call.
I can have it. Oh, you make someone to get it from?
No, he's gonna come. He will come. They have class now?
No, I don't.
Also, not even on the corner somewhere. Oh, I'm here in the room still. The lots of sandwiches. So, I think you like to mention. Top to choose the 4-cup sandwiches. And there's a whole tray. You can offer the veggie and meat sandwich on top too. As you do, the tray.
Okay.
Four trays and,
There's a tray upstairs now.
oh, this is another tray.
Yeah, okay. I'll pick it up then.
You can use this. The bunch of 4-cup sandwiches.
Please help, yes.
Right, and then you will sign this. And then you
Now, these, I should do.
cover.
I think, okay. And then I'll just take this tray.
One month, and you can have that. Just leave the remaining upstairs.
This
And
is,
then you take the water upstairs. Maybe water? Maybe water?
it's not for the hammer. How about that? Put that there, right there. Gotcha. Okay, I'll do it.